You know, there was a time that I used to hate the idea of sushi cones, but that time has long passed, and I'm so excited to show you one of my all-time favorite ways to have sushi: a temaki, a hand roll, a sushi cone. Call it what you want, but it is fresh. It is summer outside, and this is the best time to have a nice couple drinks, enjoy some cones, and just have fun. Let's get into it. And honestly, I think we've come a really long way since my first sushi themed recipe. I think I should probably have a playlist for everything so it's easy for you to look at everything that we're using here, because we have spicy aioli, we have our sushi rice, we have homemade pickled ginger or gari, we have tempura, shrimp, vegetable, in this case yam. I'm going to be talking about the technique for the cucumbers that I'm using for the cones. If you click on the link for the full written recipe, I go into much more detail because there's just so much we're going to go through today. And if you want some finesse, grab a freshly sharpened knife and just really go low and slow and make conscious cuts on those green onions. They'll come out perfect and crispy. So we need to make some mixes that's gonna go in our spicy salmon temaki and the California temaki. And temaki is just a fancy way of saying hand roll, also known as a cone. See, maki, you must have seen that on a sushi menu, just means roll, while te means hand roll. And while I'm pretty sure the original meaning is signifying that you don't need an actual bamboo mat to roll the sushi, you can also take it to mean that you have it with your hands. So first, let's get into the salmon. Now, the salmon needs to be sushi grade, or it has to be prepared in a way that you've ensured that your supermarket salmon has been frozen at least -4 degrees Fahrenheit for at least 7 days and then defrosted. That helps to kill any bacteria that could potentially cause you to get sick. Now, salmon is cubed up in these small pieces, about 1/2 inch dice, and here's my homemade spicy aioli, made with Japanese mayo, by the way. It's a slightly different texture, slightly different flavor. Then some of my finely sliced green onions, and then you just mix it up. And when I tell you, this just takes me back to my restaurant days when I would make spicy salmon rolls or put it on top, get a torch it up. That aroma, it just is very intoxicating. And maybe it's just me. Maybe it's me being nostalgic because I had my wife smell that and she thought it was nasty. So let me know if you feel how I feel or how she feels. And talking about mayo, we're not quite done yet. We have to make the mix for the California temaki. So, you know those crab sticks you get, the imitation crab sticks at the store? That's what I had here. You can also get like a tin or a bag of actual fresh crab meat and do this recipe or this mix for the temaki with that. But essentially, it's going to be a mix of the imitation crab or crab along with scallions and your Japanese mayo. Just give that all a good mix. Now, both of these need to be in the fridge right away. You want to chill it until you actually need it, use it, and you put it back in the fridge. You don't want the fish or the seafood to come up to temperature. Now, I'm also doing tempura, and I've already pre-fried the tempura. That's just something that I've learned to just make the life easier before actually making a cone. Like, imagine having tempura batter and the actual raw shrimp, the veggies for like a veg tempura, and the cone ingredients. It's just too many things going on to do fresh for something that should be stress-free at home. Let's look at the wasabi. Now, every time I used wasabi, it was from a powder. I don't think it's that cost effective to get the actual wasabi root and grind that and grate that fresh. So powder is the best that I've seen working in this country. I do have preferences over the actual powder and the type of powder, but unfortunately the one that I'm used to I can't find anymore. So this is like second best. It's not as green as what I remember, but it still has the same flavor. It's very, very potent. Just a bit of water does the trick. Now for the actual temaki itself, I'm using these nori sheets, and you're not going to use a full sheet. You're going to fold that in half and then use half for one cone. You can also use soy wrappers. That's what we used to do at my previous restaurant when I used to be in the industry. And believe me when I tell you that I've gone through hundreds of cones within a matter of 3, maybe 4 hours. We'd like fry fresh shrimp for the tempura around 2, 3 p.m. for when it's time for happy hour, because the cones I think were like half off or something, some crazy deal with like cones and like gyozas and drinks, of course. And these cones would just fly out either like late night or like 5 o'clock-ish, something like that. And I hated making these cones, because when it started it will not stop until 11:30 p.m. at night. And that's why I don't think I ever made cones. When I was making cones for money, I was never really making cones at home. I had no interest. I have made enough cones to feed a stadium. Now ideas are to get used to how much rice is needed for one cone. It's just larger than a golf ball, and you don't want to compress it too much. You want it to be light and airy, but you still want it to form a ball before you put it on, so that you have a feel of the right amount. If you're not sure, grab a scale and you need about 40 to 42 grams. Now there are some aspects of the cone that will be common for all of the different types of temakis I'll be making, like the wasabi, the ginger, and the sesame seeds. So I'll be first doing the vegetarian rolls, because it makes sense. If you're entertaining guests and some people are non-vegetarian, you want to fry the veg stuff first so that the oil is not tainted by the juices from the non-veg stuff. So dip that yam tempura in. Check out the link below or the playlist to see how to make that. And while that's refrying for about a minute or so, we'll assemble everything else for the cone. So the rice goes on top. You want to leave the bottom left side and the right half of the nori without any rice. Imagine making a heart shaped on the top left corner of the nori. Then a nice tablespoon or so of spicy aioli right down the middle, followed by a strip of ginger on top of the mayo. And then on top of that, a mix of microgreens. You can pick your own kind, like micro broccoli leaves or micro radish, micro pea shoots. A smear of wasabi, then a slice of avocado on either side of the microgreens. And then I have my cucumber. And for the veg temaki, I'm also putting some julienne red peppers along with some julienne carrots. The veg tempura, the yam tempura, is ready. Squeeze it, break it a little bit so it's easy to form it into a cone later on. Put that right down the center of the other nori for your yam tempura temaki. Now here's how you fold it. You fold the bottom left corner of the nori over the cone, over all the garnish that you have, and you kind of make like a triangle. So take it from the bottom to the top side of the nori. Now with that triangular shape, tuck anything that's leaking out in terms of the ingredients, the garnish, and carefully supporting those ingredients with your fingers, you start rolling the nori. And at this step, it's important that the bottom of the cone is pointy. Now as you get towards the final edge, as you finish wrapping, a smear of wasabi. And the wasabi here helps the nori to stick and the cone to actually stay together so it doesn't come undone when you're done rolling. You then garnish with sesame seeds and either present that on a plate, a board, or there are actually stands you can get online to hold your sushi cones. Now I'm gonna make the crab one, and I'm gonna just have the rice sitting where I described earlier, along with 2 generous tablespoons of that crab mix. And trust me, it's very tasty. On goes avocado, some ginger, wasabi smear, and then you roll again. Bottom left to top right, forming a triangle, and then you roll, gathering the ingredients with your fingers as you seal it with that wasabi smear. You finish that off with some more sesame, and then we get to the shrimp tempura. This one's the same in terms of the garnish that's inside as the yam tempura, except we're frying our shrimp tempura. This honestly is one of my favorites of all time. And to add some more color, you can add tobiko, which is, I think, flying fish roe. It's like a kind of caviar, but it's very, very cheap. But I couldn't find it. I don't know where the restaurants source it from. And then finally, my second or third most favorite is spicy salmon. And this one's gonna be very similar assembly to the crab one. But I'm gonna show you something that happened here and what you should do if it happens to you. See, I spilled a bit of that salmon and the sauce on the wrong side of the nori, where the rice is not there, because the rice is the protection. Now the issue with nori is wherever it gets moist, it's not crispy. And if it's not crispy, it's not as tasty because it has to have a satisfying crunch. That's why you can't really hold sushi, you can't really hold cones. You have to have it fresh, roll it fresh, serve it fresh. And then I have my cucumber, avocado, a smear of wasabi. You can put ginger here if you want as well. And then again, gently, carefully, follow the steps to roll it into a perfect temaki. Don't forget the sesame seeds, and look at what we created in literally about 5 to 8 minutes. I know the heads up work, the prep can seem intimidating, but you don't have to make 5 kinds at once. Just make the simple kinds. Just make the salmon maybe tuna instead, and a veg one. The idea is to get the rolling right, and once you get the rolling right, you don't need anything like this. You just need your hands, a work surface that's clean and dry, and you are good. And I personally just love this. So with some soy sauce, just put some on the top, and very, very, very satisfying flavors. And it just makes peppers fun to eat. There's just so many great choices that are left over here because I did demolish that vegetarian one. But let me know in the comments below, which one of these would you pick to be your first cone? Your first ever cone, you've never made it before, or you've never had one before. And if you have had them before, which one would you want to have again? This was a lot of fun to make, and I hope you're finding all these Japanese style recipes super, super good. Let me know in the comment section down below.